Hey guys, welcome back to our fourth podcast. You're again with Alex and Vadim, and we would again appreciate if you guys would subscribe and like the podcast. It would really help us a lot. And this podcast is brought to you by Quickie Print, where you can have all your printing needs, where you can have all your printing needs met. So Vadim, what's our first topic?
First topic of the day is an attack on Christmas. So the real question here is whether there's a real attack on Christmas or it's just Christians who are going wild and just cherry picking whatever they like. What do you think, Alex?
Well, by you giving the two options, sounds like you're definitely on one side of the argument on that. But I do think that it is something that is made into this big thing every single year for the last, I want to say maybe decade now that I could remember, that it's just this thing where there's not enough Christmassy things and people are not using the right terminology. Are you saying happy holidays or are you saying Merry Christmas? And if you're saying, happy holidays, then you're probably, this kind of person. But if you're saying Merry Christmas, then you're this kind of person. And the truth of the matter is, at least in my opinion, there is no war here. There is no attack here. There's no actual problem. It just seems like the media is making, especially like in this case it'd be Fox News, who's really making this big push every single year to beef up the ratings, to go, hey, it's like people are not doing enough. And this most recent case where Starbucks got in trouble because their Christmas cups are not Christmassy enough, which is so ridiculous. I don't even know how to view it. How do you view the whole Starbucks thing?
I don't know. To me, it just sounds so stupid. I mean, when I took a look at the cups, I'm like, it's synonymous with Christmas. You know what I mean? That's what I saw. It's a red cup.
But is it Christmassy enough?
It's Christmassy enough for me, but yet again, I'm not Christian, so I don't know. But the thing is that, why should Starbucks conform to what Christians believe to be Christmassy enough or not? Like, who are they to tell a corporation or any other company what to do and how to do it? You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. And Dunkin' Donuts came out with their own cup, and they just stuck it to Starbucks and pretty much said, you know what, we're gonna do what Christians want, and we're gonna make it Christmassy, and we're gonna make it pretty much very wholesome for Christians. You know what I mean? It's just, to me it's a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? And the same thing with Bill O'Reilly each year coming out and saying that, how you should use Christmas and not happy holidays. I mean, in your own private home, you say whatever you want to say, right? You do whatever you want to do when it comes to holidays. But to tell what companies should do. I mean, Christians are not the only religion in the United States.
But
you know what I mean?
But this is where the weird thing comes in. If you ask anyone who's not Christian, anyone, whether you're Hindu or you're an atheist or agnostic or whatever you are, if you ask them when Christmas comes around, if they think Christmas is not around, because the idea that somehow Christmas in the United States is not represented enough, you're crazy. Like, you could go to any mall, practically any store, Christmas is up front and center in your face. You turn on the TV, they're constantly playing Christmas movies, Christmas songs. I mean, I think you would have a harder time during Christmas time to avoid it. I think if somebody doesn't, like, let's say if you're not religious at all whatsoever, you don't even pay attention to dates, and somehow you like, oh, I miss Christmas, I didn't even know that was around. If you live in the United States, I don't think you could say that. I don't think you could physically hide from Christmas.
Well, I agree, and at the same time I disagree, because I remember when I was growing up in the early 90s in here, and I think it was more Christmas oriented than it is now. to tell you we were singing Christmas songs
But doesn't
in English and in
does
Spanish.
it? But doesn't
you know what
that
I mean?
have to do a little bit with the fact that you were a kid, so you were more into Christmas then than when you're an adult?
Well, it's not like I was into it, but the thing is that I think that back in the early '90s, I think schools were more Christmas oriented as opposed to right now. I think right now they're trying to encompass different religions and different traditions into the mix.
I have no clue where you're getting that from.
What I'm saying is, instead of saying Happy Christmas,
Christmas,
Merry Christmas. But instead of saying Merry Christmas, they're teaching people to say Happy Holidays. And to be honest, it's not only Christmas that's being celebrated, right? It's Hanukkah, it's Kwanzaa, it's whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
Right. There's other holidays, but I'm saying that Christmas is really overrepresented. There's no, like, for some reason you're saying that in the 90s you feel like Christmas was more represented as now, and
yes.
I don't believe that whatsoever. I think you're looking at it from when you were a kid. And when you were a kid, of course,
but even before,
presents.
but even when you turned on channels back then, it was Merry Christmas.
There were less channels.
It was okay, that's true, but it was like Merry Christmas, and then it was Happy Hanukkah. But Christmas was the pivotal
and
point.
Still is right now. I'm sorry. How many Hanukkah movies have you seen?
No, I'm not saying no. As far as no, absolutely. As far as the movies and the shows and all that stuff.
All the parades,
about,
everything that happens during that time is Christmas oriented.
But it
hasn't
think,
really changed.
Well, okay, I disagree with that, but I do think it's becoming more of Happy Holidays. You know what I mean? That's what public relations for big corporations are trying to do. Is they're trying to encompass different people and different traditions. You know what I mean? Instead of saying,
that's the
people.
Only right.
You know what I mean?
Right, but that's the only thing. You can make an argument that people are saying Happy Holidays more because they're like, oh, you know what? I am aware that there are other cultures and there are other religions there, so if I just say Happy Holidays, it basically covers everyone.
Exactly.
Right.
It does.
Right, but that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Aside from some people, not everyone, because majority of people still say Merry Christmas. And the thing is, aside from those that small percentage of people that actually does say Happy Holidays, most people still say Merry Christmas, and it, I don't know, for me it just doesn't.
But to me, Fox News and especially Bill O'Reilly, he's the most religious Christian on the network, whatever, and he comes out and he's always bashing people, supposedly atheists and other religions, that they're anti Christians, they're anti-Christmas, and with all this stupid rhetoric. I mean, if people are not Christians or people are not religious, they don't want to pay attention to Christmas. They don't want to pay attention to Christianity. No one is deliberately going out there and saying, "Don't say Merry Christmas. Don't play the Jingle Bell, song." Look, if you're at work and somebody comes up to you and says, "Don't play the Jingle Bell rock song," or "Don't say Merry Christmas to other people," yes, technically that is discriminatory, right? That's true. You know what I mean? But when a company advocates in commercials or in advertisement, and they want to encompass everybody because they're selling products to everyone. They're not only selling it to Christians. You know what I mean? Christians are this group of religious fanatics, in my opinion.
You're putting all Christians into one category?
No. The ones that believe that they're being attacked. You know what I mean? This is a Christian.
Well, you have to specify that. This is, you're literally just
that's what I'm
putting
trying to get to.
You said all Christians.
Well, I was going to get to it, but they're trying to make this into this virtual war against Christianity. You know what I mean? This is a Christian country, and we have Christian values.
But let me ask you this before.
This bullshit.
I get it. But let me ask you this though. Do you think actually it's the people? Because I really don't think it's the actual like people from whatever, from Missouri or something like
Boise,
that.
Idaho.
Right, exactly. I really don't think it's them. I honestly believe that it's the media who's really trying to like spruce this up because they get more ratings for it. They get like, it's like the more often Bill O'Reilly has been doing this year after year after year, and he always gets good ratings for this because people are like, yeah, you know what? I never thought about this until he said it, and that's actually true.
You know what?
They are taking it. Yeah, I've heard somebody say happy holidays. Oh man, they're trying to take Christmas away. Except they're not seeing all the Christmas trees and all the Christmas music and all the Christmas movies. Everything that's around them is Christmas. Yet somehow it's being taken away. And I really do believe it's not the people who are sitting there mad. I really do believe it's the media that's making people like, hey, that's true. That's a really good point. I never thought about this.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. It's definitely the media, and it's always the people that claim to be religious, but in all honesty, they're not. You know what? I guarantee you, Bill O'Reilly isn't all that religious. You know what I mean? I think that he's using religion like politicians are, to gain favoritism with the people that listen to him, especially conservatives and Republicans, that actually buy into his rhetoric. I don't think he believes most of the things that he says. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. It's definitely to gain ratings, and when we have, I don't know, like at least 200 million Christians in the United States or something close to that number, you're going to have a percentage that are going to listen to you when you create this fantastical story that Christians are being segregated, Christians are being attacked. This was the Christian country of old, and we're losing it, and this and that and that, and we have to fight for it. Christmas has to be up your ass and around the corner, and we have to just fight for it. And everyone should say Merry Christmas and fuck Happy Holidays and fuck everybody else because this is a Christian country.
I don't disagree with too much with what you said. I just think it just seems like it's an agenda that started like with something really minor. I think it just started like, hey, let's just see where it goes if we just say, hey, Christmas is under attack and stuff like that, and because it's Christmas time, everybody's talking about it, everybody's thinking about it. They're like, hey, wait a second, people are saying Happy Holidays more, huh? And the thing is, if you take a look, since Bill O'Reilly started talking about that Christmas is under attack, since he started talking about it, what if you're a Christian person who celebrates Christmas and pays attention to all this? Think about how much your rights have been removed, how less, like how many less Christmas trees you're seeing. See how it's changed, because I promise you, if you actually pay attention to it, you won't see a difference. You won't, like that. All of that is rhetoric, and it's gonna, it comes every single year, and it's like clockwork. He starts talking about it, starts pointing to, hey, if you take a look at this one incident, this person said this and that person said that. See, they're trying to stop Christmas. They're trying to take it away from us. And the truth of the matter is, you still have Christmas. It's as strong as it ever was. And if you want to, and the thing is, I actually think that most people, even if you tell them Merry Christmas, even if you're not Christian, even if you're not religious, most people will say either thank you or Merry Christmas to you as well, or
absolutely.
Happy Holidays. And the thing is, you don't have to be afraid of one or the other. It's just like I've never heard of anyone get mad when somebody said Merry Christmas. I've never heard that before. I'm guessing it happened somewhere there.
Well, it's true.
But I just never heard of anyone like, what? Well, that sounds like fighting words to me.
That's true, but it depends what area you live in and what part of the country you live in. It really makes a difference. You know what I mean? But all honesty,
you're saying that there's a place where in the country where predominantly you would go there and you say Merry Christmas to anyone, that they'll get mad at you?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to an Islamic neighborhood and you tell somebody Merry Christmas, they may just chop you up.
What's an Islamic neighborhood?
Well, in Detroit, they definitely have a lot of Arabs and Muslims.
Yeah, and you're saying that anyone there, you would tell them Merry Christmas, they would get mad at you.
Oh, I think they could chop you off into pieces, but that's just my opinion.
That literally, like,
that's just an assumption.
That's a horrible assumption.
Hey, it's an assumption. But going back to the whole Starbucks thing, in my opinion, when I took a look at the Starbucks cups, right, and they're red, and that to me represents Santa Claus, in my opinion. For them to argue the fact that it's not Christmassy enough and we want bells and whistles and Santa Claus on there and the reindeer up his ass or whatever. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And but to tell you the truth, if I was Starbucks, I would do it. The only reason that I would do it is really for, how can I put it, for getting people into my store.
Well, the thing is, most places actually do. They do everything they can in terms of celebrating Christmas, because if you create the warmth for people will like it there. And the thing is, most people, again, I don't know from the people, except from people in Detroit that you're talking about, most people actually want the warmth. Most people want the comfort of Christmas, like Christmas, I should say, Christmas. And I think most corporations do, like the best they can without trying to spend too much money. Because in my opinion, the only reason that Starbucks probably didn't go full out, this is my only assumption, is because that they looked at it, okay, well, if we get the cup with all the reindeers and all the bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff, it's going to cost us an extra 2 pennies for the cup. But if we just get a red cup, then it's going to cost us 2 pennies less. So why not just go for that? Do you know what I mean?
Well, no,
that's my only thing, is that
right.
They probably looked at it and went, hey, it's cheaper for us to do this.
Well, I see your point, in that. I mean, in my opinion, if I was the corporation, maybe I would make it look a little nicer. But, to complain and to start this campaign to boycott Starbucks for a cup, I mean, it's just so childish. Does anyone honestly think that Starbucks was, actively trying to fight Christmas or something? Yeah, like why would they even do that, especially in the United States, when they know most of the people are, Christians? That doesn't even make any sense, right?
And the thing is, honestly, the time that I'm thinking about going to Starbucks is really when it's cold outside, when you want to come in, and if you walk into a Starbucks and you get yourself some hot chocolate or something, and you have like this great environment of like Christmas music playing, and you got like jingle bells and all that kind of stuff going on. It's a good environment. That's the time that I'm thinking about. Would Starbucks really hurt their own market by going like, well, screw Christmas, I'm just gonna go and do the opposite. I'm gonna go against them. I'm gonna have a black cup on Christmas. Screw them.
No, absolutely. I mean, boycott Starbucks, for example, if deadly chemicals were found.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's definitely reasons to boycott Starbucks, for sure.
Boycott them for not hiring, certain individuals. You know what I mean? Boycott them for a legitimate reason, not because of the color of the cup or the lack of decoration that the cup has. It's just becoming so stupid. And you're right, definitely. It's Fox News, gaining publicity so that more people are, listening to them. And Bill O'Reilly should just shut his mouth. It's just so hypocritical of him. Like it's just ridiculous. Like he wouldn't get a Starbucks coffee. Yeah, I want to see that. I would want to see him getting caught drinking Starbucks.
He probably wouldn't get a.
Oh, he
Starbucks
wouldn't
coffee.
actually. Right, he wouldn't
would
actually
have somebody
go
else
in.
do that.
He'll have somebody else, get that for him. But come on, honestly,
I'm getting the feeling that you don't really like Bill O'Reilly.
I don't think many people really like him. But to tell you the truth, I think he's putting up a front. You know what I mean? That he's for this, he's for that. But I think in all honesty, in all reality, I don't think he's a conservative. You know what I mean? I really do.
What do you think he is?
I think he's a liberal. I think he's very open to many different aspects of what he's against. In a sense, he's against abortion. I think he's for abortion. You know what I mean? He's probably against sex before marriage, but I guarantee you.
What makes you think of him?
He's a conservative, religious guy that says
right,
that he's independent.
Right, but
come on, it's ridiculous.
Right, but what makes you think that he's the opposite of everything he says?
Well, one on Bill Maher's show, I forgot the guy's name he had on, and he was talking about how Bill O'Reilly is so different when he saw him in person, and he actually spoke to him about the topics that he covers in his show, and he's pretty much the opposite. In a sense, he's fronting. So I can tell that he's a good actor, but that's just my opinion. But definitely, I really don't buy the fact that he's a conservative, a religious fanatic. He's writing books, he's making money, he has a show that goes out to Christians. So he's definitely putting up a front. That's my opinion.
Right. I don't know how much of what he says is true, but
definitely what he says most of the time probably isn't true. Let's just put it that way.
Well, you could put it that way. I'm just saying I
don't
know.
Put it that way.
Right. I don't know how much of it he actually believes is true, or like he just believes in what he says. I can't really say. I don't know if I would necessarily go based on one person said something about on the show about him, but he might be. I mean, for all I know, he might be bullshitting about everything he says, or it might be, like his real opinions are that.
No,
I don't know how much his writers right. Like how much they provide him the opinions that he has, or how much he has, or how he has his own. So
probably
I can't really say.
90-10. 90% his writers, 10 his.
That's your opinion, of course. I
so what do you think should happen with Starbucks? You think Christians should boycott Starbucks? Do you think that Starbucks should accommodate?
No, that would be crazy.
Well, do you think that
they probably have to close down if all Christians
do you think
that.
Now that all this uproar came out that Starbucks should accommodate Christians next year, or quickly print out the cups?
If I was them, from a business standpoint, I definitely would. From a business standpoint, the thing is, they never look at it from should we stand our ground that we didn't do anything wrong, or should we fold? And the thing is, they don't look at it like that. They're like, hey, it's like, are we gonna get less money? We are. Okay, we need to change. And I think from a business standpoint, they're definitely going to. They're it would be a smart thing. It's the same thing of what you said. What was it? You said Applebee's that came out with another cup?
No. It
Coffee
was
Bean?
No, not Coffee Bean. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it is. I can't remember.
Okay,
it'll come to me.
That's fine. But there was another company that basically came out, and they basically
it was Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. There we go. Dunkin' Donuts, and they basically got they had their cups were really Christmassy, and they did it not because they hate Starbucks or anything like that. They did it because from a business standpoint, that was the right decision. And I think Starbucks will do the same thing. I don't think they're going to look at it. Are you saying
they're going to do it this year or next year?
For all I know, they might do it this year. I'm not sure about that, but I would be shocked if they don't do it next year. If
So-
they don't do it this year, I'd be shocked if they don't do
So
it
if
next
they
year.
do it this year, then the red cups they'll just give it to the homeless people.
Maybe they'll donate them. I have no clue. I don't know. Maybe give it to the Russians because it's red or something.
Right.
I don't know.
I'll take some for free, no problem.
Right,
Just send it over to me. I'll resell them.
All right. Okay. So let's move on to our next topic. So our next topic is blackface, and it just made news again that Jason Aldean wore blackface to imitate Lil Wayne on Halloween. Jason Aldean, if you guys don't know, he's a country singer, pretty popular one.
He's a racist. Just for doing that, right?
Well, basically, that's the idea. If you're white and you wear, basically, if you try to imitate a black person with any kind of, I don't know, mask of any kind, paint mask or makeup or anything like that, you're gonna be racist. Unless you are doing it in a movie.
Well, even in the movie, in the movie, you can be considered a racist
potentially. But
right?
But the example that I would give is, oh man, what's his name? Robert Downey Jr., where he played
Tropic Thunder.
Thank you, Tropic Thunder, where he played a black guy. He did a really good job.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Right, exactly. So there's that exception, but even that got a bit of flack during that time.
Yeah, but even in the movie, he was being criticized by the other black guy.
Right,
Black
exactly.
Actor. So it's funny.
Right,
you know
but
what I mean?
But the thing is, if you're not in a movie and you do this, somehow it's sort of made into this thing where it's like you are racist. You are automatically racist. And I remember Julian Huff, who's like the Dancing with the Stars girl, and she basically did the same thing, but she dressed up as
a Smurf, right?
No, not a Smurf. She dressed up as one of the characters from Orange is the New Black. Yes, Orange is the New Black. She dressed up as one of the girls from there, and
the black butch lesbian.
Right, exactly. she dressed up as her, and
she definitely did not look like her, not even close.
She did. Yes, bad concept. But I'm saying she dressed up not because she hated her or she didn't, no, she loved the show and she dressed up as her favorite character from there, and somehow it came out as she's a racist because she did this. And the thing is, she's young, that's one, and the thing is, she honestly did not know. What
does it matter if she knew or if she didn't know? What's the difference? So now that she knows, she can't do it in the future.
Well, she apologized. That's the thing.
Well, of course you have to apologize, because she wouldn't apologize, she would probably lose fans and all this, and she may even get fired, or who the hell knows?
I'm actually curious. How many black people do right now get offended by this?
Oh, the black people get offended.
No, but
I
don't. I actually think it's not as many black people. I think as many like leftist liberals who are like fighting for this kind of like cause. Like, hey, this is a really, really horrible thing. I think black people are more kind of like, well, was it funny? Was it like what was the like
I don't know.
I think even most of people don't even like. How many people were even alive during the time that this was even happening? I mean, right now it's like it's something that you read in a history book.
That's not true. That's not true. Black people constantly feel like they're being discriminated. That people look down on them.
I'm not talking.
Right, but
I'm not. I'm talking about specifically about the case of where it's blackface, where back in the day, where white guys would dress up in blackface because they don't want to hire black people, and they would act like black people, but very, very in a very negative way. Let's put it that way. And now it seems like it's like the idea that most people don't even remember this. Most people are like, I have to see a video. Okay, this is what they did. Now most people don't even know about this, and somehow we're still pushing this thing. Like, if you're a white person and you dress up as a black person, you're racist, and it's like,
you're a racist. You should lose your job. You should pretty much, be ostracized by your community and blah 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 blah. Just because, I mean, it's Halloween. You should dress up as who you like.
Right? Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. That's what Halloween is all about. You come out one night dressing like someone that you've never wanted to be, in a sense, right?
Right.
And just doing your thing.
How many
Who
people
cares?
Right, how many people today actually dress up as like Superman? And if you're not white, you might want to change up your hair, you might want to like look more Superman, because it's like that's sort of the goal. If you want to be Shaft, well, you can't, like, if you just dress up as Shaft, no one will go like, oh, you're white, but you're dressed up in this weird getup. But if you color yourself, then it's like, oh, okay, you're playing Shaft. That makes sense. And somehow we've gone into this situation now where it's like, especially if you're white, because black people don't get the same flag. Black people at all. There's like, the Wayne brothers did a movie where they played white chicks. I think that's what it was called. Yeah. And no one gave them flag for it. It's not even a thing. It's like, it's like, well, that's fine. They, dress up as white chicks. So what's the problem? It's like they were making fun of white women, and somehow that was absolutely fine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So there is this huge double standard where the only people that ever get in trouble for doing this are white people, and this happened so long ago now that like we should really move on from it and not make this into an issue every single time we find somebody like, oh, look at this guy, he dressed up like this. If we can, let's fire him. Let's now go to his shows. To be honest with you, with Jason Aldean, I don't think he's going to get into too much trouble, just because
he's in the country world.
Right. So
how many black people listen to the country world? Who's going to fire?
Quite a few.
Really? But okay, but who's going to fire him?
Right.
I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, the thing is,
because he's coming from a conservative
right, exactly.
Background.
His audience is different, and that audience, accepts that, like, that's not really a racist thing to do. It just isn't. Doing that isn't a racist thing. If you're being derogatory, I understand. If you're dressing up as a black person and you're, making big lips and all that kind of stuff, and you're just making fun of black people, I completely understand. That is a racist thing to do. But that's a racist thing across the board. You don't need anything from back in the day to be the cause of it. But now, if you dress up as your favorite character from wherever it is, whether it's comic books or a TV show or whatever it is, you're not being derogatory. You're praising them. If anything, you're like, they're so funny or they're so interesting, so I want to, for Halloween, look like them.
No, that's true. I agree with you. But the thing is, let's say he is racist, okay? Hypothetically.
Okay. Jason Aldean, you're talking about.
Yes, Jason Aldean. Let's say he is racist for some reason. You know what I mean? Should he be fired from his job because he's racist? Should he be fired because he has different opinions? Should he be fired because he dressed up as someone else that he shouldn't have?
You're saying if he actually is racist?
Yeah, if he's actually racist.
Well, that depends on the company, if they want to keep him or not.
Yeah, exactly. That depends on the company. But the thing is that he has his own opinions and reservations about different people. Everybody's prejudiced, right? Everyone is. You telling me black people are not racist? But how many times have you heard of a black person getting fired because they were racist? Have you ever heard of that before? On TV, I've never even heard of anyone, getting fired because they said something racist on TV. Never. I've never heard of it.
The only time I've ever heard of I think it was an analyst who got in trouble. It was a black analyst who got in trouble, and this wasn't a black and white issue. It was actually a black and Asian thing. It was when Jeremy Lin, the whole Lin sanity or whatever it was. Yeah. When it was big, he said something Asian derogatory, something along those lines.
Yeah, but okay,
and he got in trouble for that. But that's the
did he get fired?
I don't think so.
No, he probably did get fired.
Yeah, he got in trouble and came back, apologized.
And why? Because he's black.
Right.
Had it been a white person making fun of an Asian or any other ethnicity or disability, guess what? He would have been fired. But let me give you another example. Mayweather making fun of Pacquiao.
Okay.
Nothing happened to him. He was making fun of him being Filipino and Asian and all that stuff. And
I never heard. What did he say?
I don't remember. I really don't remember what he actually said. But he was definitely, I think, like making fun of his eyes or something like that. Like he was making, he was making derogatory comments, and he didn't get anything for that. I mean, it was just like one story, and nobody even paid attention to it. Whatever.
There definitely is a double standard right now when it comes to racism, and black people have the most room out of any other minority. They have the most room to basically do whatever they want without any trouble, because I promise you, if there's a black person who dresses up as a white character from anywhere, they will not get in trouble, at all whatsoever.
They will not get into trouble, but I think they'll probably get publicity, and it will go viral, and they will praise that person, and it just seems like such a topsy-turvy type of thing, where it's actually praise that he's showing it to the white man that he can be a better white man or whatever. You know what I mean? They can make up whatever they want in the media to make the black person look like the hero or the victim. Do you know what I mean? That's what they're trying to do. It's just it's so ridiculous.
How much do you think right now the media is the one responsible for all this, and how much do you think of it is the internet that's responsible for it?
Well, I mean, it could be both, but the media,
right, but
the media really starts.
But if you have to give a percentage, though,
the media starts it. Okay, so the media starts it.
Well, does it actually start it? For example, if somebody finds a picture of Jason Aldean, whatever, at a party, and he's dressed up in blackface, and they forward it to their friends, and all of a sudden it blows up and it's everywhere. Not necessarily is that the media starting it. It became big, so media caught up to it, and to be honest, a lot of like news right now is sort of that. It starts off on the internet, gets passed around, and then all of a sudden it becomes big news.
Well, it could go either way. It's either the social media starts it off, and then the media picks it up and just they make a touchdown with it, or it's the other way around. But the media starts, and then the social media just blows up.
But do you think or who do you think makes a bigger deal about it? Do you think it's the social media, or do you think it's the TV newscasters?
No, I think it's the TV newscasters that make a big deal of it, because when it's on social media, people are talking amongst themselves, you know what I mean? But once it gets projected onto the mainstream media, then it's coming out that, oh yeah, that person is racist, you shouldn't be able to dress that way, and it becomes more official that we have a real problem in society. We have these white people that are still very racist, and it's funny, it's the white people that are saying that white people are racist. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just like this stupidity that you hate yourself. Fine, fuck, you hate yourself, then fucking tan the shit out of yourself or light yourself on fire. You know what I mean? Because you're white. You know what I mean? Like, stop apologizing. It's like being apologizing for being white. You know what I mean? It's so fucking stupid. It's just ridiculous.
I don't know.
That's my opinion.
I'm thinking of like, when it comes to the media and when it comes to social media, really, I'm sort of torn, because I feel like the online media, really, or whatever you want to call it, I feel like it sort of starts now. It's sort of like the flame that starts everything right now. It just seems like it. It just seems like, it becomes this thing where people are like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. It gets passed around so much that the mainstream media has to pick it up, because like, this is a big story, and we have to report on it because people have sort of made it that. And then once the mainstream media picks it up, then they give you a narrative for it. Whereas social media has a lot of different voices saying a lot of different things. Mainstream media will have one specific voice telling you exactly, what you should be, thinking about it, and how mad you should be about. And they'll even actually throw in a few Twitter rants here and there. They'll show like examples of like, see, this person from so and so is really upset, they said blah blah blah. And it just seems like I don't know, it just seems like that's basically where we're heading right now, and that is social media being the pusher of the news, and mainstream media being the director of it, I guess.
I don't know. It's just to me, it's just becoming ridiculous, becoming a circus. We're focusing on what people say and what people wear instead of really focusing on the real issues, what's really going on around us and in the world. You know what I mean? It's such a distraction. You know what I mean? Focus on the fact that we have lack of jobs. Focus on the fact that we have a lot of poverty. You know what I mean? Focus on the environment. Focus on those things instead of like being outraged as someone. And we're talking about an individual. We're not talking about a group. We're talking about an individual that is a music country star or whoever. It doesn't really matter. Focus on one individual and saying that this is wrong. Come on, it's ridiculous. Like these social justice warriors coming out and they want to lash this guy. They want to make an example of him, and come on, it's just such bullshit. It's such a non-story, you know what I mean, in my opinion. And you focus on your daily activities, focus on yourself, improve yourself instead of like trying to improve other people. You know what I mean? Start with yourself first. If you can make yourself perfect, then start branching out, and then start looking at other people, but not until then. That's the problem.
Well, let me ask you, okay, so then when do you think, or what needs to happen for this whole blackface not to be an issue anymore? What do you think needs to happen?
Well, the media needs to stop covering this bullshit. You know what I mean?
So you're thinking that if the media stops covering it, then people in social media will stop making it into an issue?
Well, I'm not saying that necessarily, but all I'm saying is that I think once the media grabs a hold of it, they start debates about it. They start going into it deeper, and this shouldn't be in our society, and blah blah blah. I think it starts off,
but I still don't think
more
that,
innocent.
But I still don't feel like that will change the landscape. Meaning, I still think if somebody dresses up as basically in blackface anywhere around the country, basically you're going to get into trouble. You're gonna like some people are gonna be fine with it, but you're gonna meet that one justice warrior or two justice whatever, and they're going to like be upset that you're doing this. You're like, how can you possibly not realize how you're offending people? Well, you could even be with a black person right next to you dressed in blackface, and he's dressed in whiteface. They'll come to you and tell you how you're making a mistake and how you shouldn't be, you shouldn't be doing this because it's, it makes black people feel offended or something.
You can't change people. You know what I mean?
But it's not changing people. It's that perception that from back in the day, this is what they did. So now we shouldn't do this anymore. And I'm like, they're done in different ways now. It's like no one dresses up as a black person to make fun of black people. That's not a thing.
Well, we still live in a free society where we can dress and say what we want. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Right. No, I understand people like that. I'm not talking about like what we cannot do and stuff like that. I'm talking about where it's not going to be an issue anymore. Where if your child wants to dress up as their favorite superhero and he just happens to be black, he's not going to be, or you're not going to get in trouble for dressing him up like that, because somehow that's a racist thing to do, because your child somehow is this racist machine that you're trying to put out into this world and representing racism. It's this stupidity at this point where you can't move on past something that happened back in the day where no one remembers unless you tell them about it. It's like, the truth of the matter is most people don't know, especially if you're in your 20s or earlier. You don't even know it. That's the thing. You don't even know it. Like, we have to teach people that this was such an issue back in the day. So the idea that we still have to continue with this is, I don't know, just pointless and weird and stupid at this point.
To me, it's simple. Dress the way you want to dress. Say what you want to say. Just pretty much know the consequences of what you're doing and what you're saying, and if you're okay with that, then it's fine. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it. however other people look at you, that's their problem.
Yeah, but this,
you know what I mean?
but this wasn't a conversation about how you want to dress. No one really wants to dress unless you're talking about the NCAA girl.
Okay,
well,
let's say you do want to dress as a black person. You want to put on the blackface. Who's to say that you can't do it? It
matters. It matters what the reason.
It doesn't matter what the reason is. You want to be black.
Are you talking?
You want to be black?
Right,
I don't know.
Right, that's the reason. So you just gave a reason.
Okay.
I'm just saying that like, of course, a reason does. I mean, I'm not in any way saying that if you're some bigoted person somewhere, wherever, like sitting there, I'm gonna dress like the blackie there and stuff like that, and you want to make fun of black people and you want to just put them down in all these ways and go like, well, I should, you should be fine with me doing that. No, I mean, you're a racist. You're doing this in a derogatory way. So no, of course not. But if you're doing this in a non-derogatory way, which pretty much everyone is, like, we need to move on past that, because we're just holding ourselves back from moving on and making problems out of something that should never be a problem.
I think the whole point is this, that racists will not want to dress as black. They don't want to be black. You know what I mean? They're making fun of being black. So the whole preposterous notion of if you dressed as black, that means you're a racist, that doesn't even make any sense. You know what I mean? To me, at least.
Right.
So
in most cases, I mean, I could see a scenario where somebody who's racist would want to dress up and make black people, but yeah, in most cases, most racists would not want to look like a black person for any reason. But yeah, so that seems like where we are at this point. It seems like we're on the same page on this. So, okay, so what's our next topic?
Let's move on to minimum wage. Minimum wage, has been an issue for a while now. The question is, can you really live on minimum wage? And
well, again, when it was created originally, it was called the living wage. That's what it was. It was created so that, like, no one can pay you a penny a week and go like, well, that's, that I don't have to actually pay you more. I could pay you whatever I want. And it was created as a positive thing. Unfortunately, now it just seems like big corporations, and I think this is where we're going to disagree, but big corporations have done all they can in basically trying to prevent the minimum wage from going up, and they made people convince people that if minimum wage goes up, then we're going to have to actually fire people. Small businesses are going to close and all this kind of stuff. And the truth of the matter is, that's a lie. That's a lie, because they don't want to pay more. They can. And if you take a look at what minimum wage covered before, let's say in the 60s and the 70s, minimum wage, you can actually support your family with it. Yeah, you're not going to have a great house. You're not going to be like, all rich or anything like that, but you would be able to support your family. Minimum wage now, in the minimum wage places like in McDonald's, they have signs for you to get welfare, because you qualify for welfare working a minimum wage job nowadays. So that's basically where I stand with.
All right. Well, either way you look at it, minimum wage right now, maybe back then, it was more suitable. But, looking at it right now in California, $9 an hour. I mean, what are you going to really, make per month? You know what I mean? It comes out to be maybe like $1,200 a month. Yet again, it depends on how many hours you work. But for $1,200 a month in California, you can barely even afford rent. But the issue here, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's actually minimum wage. I think the issue here is fair pay, because these corporations are making huge profits. They're not paying taxes. And they're paying their employees a wage that they can barely survive on. Yes, I mean, if you increase the minimum wage to $15, for example, in California, which is going to be the law in 2021, that's going to, get people to afford more things. But you have to look at it from a different perspective.
Why?
Well, for example, if the minimum wage goes up to $15 an hour, that means now, for example, McDonald's is going to increase their burger price, right? I mean, they're not just going to
They didn't
sit
say
there.
that minimum.
Yeah, but they probably will increase their prices.
No, they're competing versus others, and McDonald's actually, since you pointed out, McDonald's they themselves said that they are going to be increasing for their employees no matter what. Meaning before the 2021 thing that's going to pass in California, they're going to increase it to $15 an hour. So the idea that they can't afford it or they're going to raise prices is really what corporations have been selling for the longest time, and people have now, are convinced now, yeah, if we get paid more, then this is what's going to happen. But the truth of the matter is, you're actually going to be spending more. You know who doesn't spend more? Rich people. When rich people get more, they don't spend more. When people who don't have money get, like, for example, they're going to go from $9 to $15. Guess what? They're going to be buying more food. They're going to be shopping way more. That happens across the board all the time. So I don't see that the whole price hike is going to happen because minimum wage is going to go up.
It's simple mathematics, okay? Whenever a company has to pay out more, they're going to increase it towards the customer. It doesn't matter what it is. More taxes, we're going to increase the burger price. More minimum wage, we're going to increase the burger price. Whatever it is, the corporation or the company is going to have to pay for it somehow. And yes, of course, McDonald's can afford $15 an hour. They can afford $20 an hour. They could probably afford $30 an hour. But the problem here is this. They have shareholders, okay? And they can't justify a hike of minimum wage or wage in general without showing their corporate buddies that, listen, this is how we're going to pay for it, and this is how we're going to maintain or increase our stock price. Of course they can afford it. That's not even a question. But there's always somebody that's sitting behind them and telling them, well, wait a second, we need to make sure that we're making X amount of money.
That's always been something that has been passed around, and it was always the reason as to why not to raise the minimum wage. And that was basically, if you do it, then you're gonna have to pay more for things. But the lie is that they have been constantly raising prices on everything. If you look back at minimum wage has been pretty stagnant. I mean, you could look at it from like the 90s to now, it's what increased of like $3 or something like that. And we're talking about what, 15 years?
No, we'll probably increase $4.
Because
I think it was like $5. So
$4, right? Okay, so fine. Let's go $4 from, and we're talking about 20 years. That's look at everything else. Look at the bread in the supermarket. Look at everything you buy. Did that really increase by only a little bit, or that increased by a lot? Meaning the $4 that you're getting paid more, is that equivalent to all the price hikes? No. And there's always this thing, well, we're going to have to start charging more. The price hikes are going to happen no matter what. The thing is, if they can convince people, which they have, that if we don't do it, it's better. No. Why they're doing that? And this is the reason, like, if you're somebody who's on the fence about should there be a minimum wage hike, because you're going like, well, I don't know, I don't really get minimum wage, so how does that affect me? If you're somebody who's getting paid, I want to say under $100,000 or $150,000, minimum wage hike affects you. Because, for example, in California, it's going to go to $15, right? Well, think about it like this. Think of it as a stepping stone. So at $15, you get the guy at the lowest position getting $15. So that means the supervisor that was before getting paid maybe $10, $11 is now has to get paid over $15, right? So he or she's going to be at $17, $18. So the person above him is going to have to be getting paid that much more. So all of a sudden, every position above that, the supervisor, the executive, everyone above that is going to eventually, not right away, but eventually is going to get a raise. And that's the thing. If you take a look at how much teachers have been getting paid from what, in the 90s to now, it hasn't really changed that much. I remember what the starting salary for teachers back in the 90s was around like around 31,000, 32,000. Now the starting salary is around 38, 39,000. We're talking about so much time has passed, 20 years have passed, and somehow teachers are still, still getting paid so little. And that is directly because of minimum wage. Like,
I disagree. So you're saying if minimum wage goes up, then teachers are gonna start making more money?
Yes.
Okay. Well. Okay.
Because of what I just said. I don't know if you heard what I said, but I specifically gave an example of how one reflects the other. And if your lowest employee is getting paid $30,000, you're saying that the teacher would still get paid $39,000, $38,000? No, they have to raise it. They have to raise everyone's salary. If the minimum wage raises, everyone else's salary goes up as well. And that means if more people are getting more money, then they're going to spend more money. So the idea that somehow they're going to have to raise it because people are just, just too expensive to hire, no.
There's one factor that you're forgetting. You're talking about corporations that can afford it. And I agree with you. They can afford it and they should do it regardless of what the minimum wage is. But there's one factor that you're forgetting.
Not at all.
And that, absolutely you are. You're forgetting the small business. And the small business are not going to be able to afford $15 an hour. And you know what that's going to come out to be? They're going to go out of business. How about that?
Right. You're absolutely right. And what would happen is the same thing what happened back in the day when they first said, hey, we need a living wage. Like people were, oh my God, small businesses are going to go out of business and all that kind of stuff. And that's true. Some of them did go out of business because they were paying their employees practically nothing. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you can't afford to pay your employees a living wage, you should not have a business. The idea that somehow you should be able to hire anyone and pay them very little and go like, well, that's an okay thing to do is wrong. Yes, if you're a business that can't pay a living wage, that means you're not doing well. So that means yes, you shouldn't be around. Yes, some businesses will not last, and some small businesses will, and they'll thrive. Because again, more people getting more money in society, first of all, you're creating a much stronger middle class that's going to start spending more. Spending more means that helps businesses way more than lowering the minimum wage. Well, technically, I mean, if you remove the minimum wage and you let small businesses charge whatever they want, that will actually help small businesses. But I don't see too many people going like, hey, this is what we should do, except maybe small businesses.
Right. No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you're making it seem like if, we move the minimum wage up to $15 an hour, that's going to change the economy. That's going to make people living standards, higher.
Hold on.
You know what I mean? It changes overall, everything.
By the way,
it changes nothing.
Right. Well, you just.
I'll explain the reason why it changes nothing.
First of all, I never said it's going to change everything. That's a easy argument to make. Like, it changes everything. No, it doesn't change everything, but it changes a whole lot. If you put more money into the middle class and the low class, or the poor class, I should say, if you give them more money, they spend more. That goes back into the economy. That goes back into small businesses. It goes back into corporations, and they pay more. So you have the circular thing going. If people don't have the money, they don't spend. So yes, will it help the economy? Will it help people? Absolutely. The idea of it is ridiculous. Yes. Will it hurt some businesses? Without a doubt. Some businesses that are on the verge, yes, that will hurt them. They'll go, hey, I had to close because minimum wage went up. But that means your business wasn't doing well.
Well, not only that, but when you want to start a business and you have to start out paying your employees, $15 an hour that you don't have, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to start a business. So that's one. And then two,
that's true. You're absolutely right. But then
right.
you should not start a business if you don't have the money to pay. We're talking about. By the way, we're not talking about paying somebody a ridiculous amount. We're talking about a living wage where you could get an apartment, where you could get food, and not be going like, I have no way of next month paying if I'm even off by a little bit.
Listen, I don't disagree with what you're saying. All I'm trying to get at is this whole agenda of raising the minimum wage to $15 is not the answer. And I'll give you the reason as to why it's not the answer. Because corporations can easily afford this. And you already agreed to that. They can afford it. Small businesses cannot afford it. So what this does, it drives away the small businesses. It puts them out of business. And
you're also saying that all small businesses
I'm
can't
not
afford
saying
it?
all, I'm saying most. And then what it does is when you do want to start a business, you now looking to hire people here in the United States, and it goes back to the same old thing. Why are we losing jobs to China, to India, to other countries?
So
because we cannot afford to pay people in the United States.
So your argument is for people not getting a living wage, for not helping the economy, for not helping people in general, is that it's going to hurt the economy to do that. So somehow, like if a small business closes down, like that argument has been so overused and so proven so wrong so often. It's crazy. The idea like, oh, well, we can't raise taxes ever because small businesses won't be able to handle it. The reason why we can't raise minimum wage is because small business can't handle it. And the truth of the matter is they can, and they will, and they have already. That's a bullshit thing. Small businesses will constantly be around. Should we do something about corporations becoming bigger in general? That's a completely separate that's a completely separate conversation, which I would agree with you on that. But to talk about it like corporations can handle it, but small businesses can't, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Yes, small businesses that are on the cusp, yes, they can handle it. But at the same time, if you lower the minimum wage and make it even easier for them, you could open up dude, everyone should open up a business then at that point and then pay their employees, let's say $1, a week. Hey, anyone could have a business that's going to do well. But the thing is, you have to pay people enough in the United States so that you have the economy moving. You have people who are going to be able to pay for rent, people to buy food, people to go shopping. So it stems the whole economy. So your job is paying you because you're paying into it, and it becomes a circular thing. And if you don't do that, if you just go one way on this and go, let minimum wage stay where it is and let like the increases in salary stay exactly the same while everything else around you increases, it screws you over. It screws the economy over. And that, I don't know. I personally think that minimum wage needs to be raised, and I'm happy that at least in California it is, and I think other states are going to follow.
It's not going to do anything in California. You think because they're going to raise it to $15, people are going to have more money, they're going to spend it. And
that's
you're
a
right.
fact.
That's a fact. They will have it for a little while.
Hold on a second. Even the Republicans, even that they disagree with this. I remember when George Bush was in office, they gave a $400 thing for doing your basically to all
Tax
of the to all taxpayers, $400 basically across the board, so that the idea was we give them more money and that will stimulate the economy. That's the same idea, except in the broader term where people get an increase in pay. If they do that, they'll put more money back into the economy. They'll put more money into businesses, small businesses and large businesses. That's
yet again, that's all temporary. That all sounds good, and yes, that's going to happen. But eventually, the minimum wage is going to catch up to pretty much the pricing that corporations are going to start increasing and charging.
And that's when you raise it. That's why the minimum wage has constantly been raised. That's the reason.
But anyway, the way that I look at it is this way: the minimum wage should, in my opinion, stay at maybe let's increase it to $10 and keep it there for small businesses. Only for small businesses, because yet again they're small. Once they reach to a point where they're mid-tier or they're a large corporation, then I think that the minimum wage for that type of tier of corporation should increase to maybe $15.
That's laughable, even if you think that would be even possible. Like, you think in some ways that corporations are going to adhere to the idea that only they're going to be, somehow affected by this raise, but no one else is?
Okay, if well, that's fine. I see what you're saying. But yet again, when big corporations don't pay any taxes into the economy, and everyone is complaining, we can't afford roads, we can't afford this, we can't afford that, so choose. Either you pay your fair share of taxes, or you pay a fair wage, to your employees. You know what I mean? Because they're not doing either. They're not paying a fair wage to employees, and they're not putting money back into the economy via taxes that everyone else is.
I agree to that, but you're basically making it out to be like these are the only two options that they have or something, and the truth of the matter is they have many options, and the number one option that they have chosen is to advertise the idea that minimum wage is going to hurt you, higher taxes on businesses is going to hurt you. All of these things that have been proven to actually help have now been advertised, and most people at this point think that this is something that's going to hurt them, and that's basically where we're at. And the idea that somehow they're going to choose the two options that you suggested, no, they're going to choose that third, fourth, fifth option that they want. Corporations, I'm with you on the idea that corporations are not paying enough. I'm with you that corporations are not paying taxes, basically, in most cases. I'm with you that needs to change, but like you have, like, it's like they have a lot of things in place so that they won't have to do that. They have a lot of, like, the only thing right now that they don't control is the minimum wage, but they have so much money invested in blocking anything about it that's why it's so hard to pass anything in regards to minimum wage. That's why it took so long to even do this in California.
No, I agree with that notion that companies should pay a fair wage. I absolutely agree with that, especially corporations that have obscene amounts of profit, and that they can pay, and they don't pay taxes, they don't pay a fair minimum wage, they don't treat their employees right, they take advantage of employees, they ask for them to volunteer, and it's just becoming, and they don't pay overtime. There's so many factors here, but this is attributed to the fact that they are big corporations. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they can't afford it. So punish them. Punish the big corporations, and don't punish the small guys that are starting out, that are trying to build their business. Once they build their business to a point where they are mid-tier, or they're as big as the corporations that they're competing against, well, then treat them the same way. Make sure that they're paying the right wage to their employees. You know what I mean?
But if you really want to do that, why not then? Like, I mean, basically, you're talking about like an imaginary state where we could choose that option. But I'm saying, if we're really talking about that, why doesn't then the government then cover the difference? So meaning, for example, it does what you're saying. So if you're a small business, let's say you're in the criteria of being a small business, you have, let's say, 3 employees or something like that. Okay, so if you have those 3 employees, you can pay the $10 of what you're talking about, but the government covers the rest of it and says, okay, so until you grow or until you close down, we're going to cover that extra $5 for your business for maybe the next 6 months or something like that. If you can't show any growth, then we'll basically, like, we're not going to cover you anymore, and you have to pay the employees the fair wage of the $15 an hour. I'm just saying that the idea, because we're like we're sort of hurting everyone. And the thing is, most people are going to want to work for the Walmarts and the McDonald's and stuff like that. Why would you want to consider yourself like? Why would anybody want to work for a small business if they're paying $10 an hour? Like those small businesses would close down because they would have a hard time finding anyone of any kind of decent caliber to work for $10, where they could get, where like Walmart and all of these other places are booming because they're, they get to choose of the best employees, and it's like pay them the $15 an hour.
Not necessarily true, and I'll give you the reason as to why the small businesses could compete against the larger businesses. One, college students, would probably want to work for a small business more than they would want to work for a big.
Get paid $5 less.
It's
50%
not about
less.
Okay, one, it's not about the amount of money you make. Small businesses work in a variety of different industries, right? And so do these corporations as well. But what I'm trying to get at is you will attain more experience working for a smaller business. That's one.
I think you're confusing interns and jobs.
No.
Yes, you're absolutely right. They could get interns, if you're a small business doing something interesting, yeah. But most places aren't that. Like, what if you're a small business who's selling shoes? What if you're a small business that, that's been around, like a mom and pop's pizza place where the two employees right now are, the husband and wife, and they have one busboy or something. It's like the idea that somehow, it's like these are all interesting jobs that college kids want to work at, that's the small minority of jobs. Most of them are not interesting. Most of them are not something they're eager to do. So if you have an option, if you're especially a college student and you have an option of working for a place, and this McDonald's pays me 15 and this burger place pays me 10, I'm absolutely going to go for the 15 every single time. So that means there's going to be more McDonald's and less of the small businesses because they can compete. So somebody has to cut you can't have that big jump in pay between the jobs when they're exactly the same jobs. Well, if anything, McDonald's is probably easier than the small place, because usually when you're basically working for a small mom and pop place, you're usually wearing many hats. In a sense, you're doing many jobs. So yeah. Well,
that depends, because in a sense, the small mom and pop shop, they can incentivize their employees and say, if we make X amount of money, we're going to give you X amount of bonus, or give you some incentives. You know what I mean?
That's unrealistic. I don't know what you mean by that.
It can't be realistic.
It can't, but it is
unrealistic. Yet again, it depends.
Come on, you basically gave two scenarios. One where it's a really interesting job where they're getting a really great experience, which is a very small minority. Another one where they could incentivize if we get the certain amount of money. But if you're a cashier somewhere, how am I supposed to meet that criteria? Like, okay, we have people buy these many shoes, or we had them buy this much bread, and they didn't buy any more. What am I supposed to do? Go out, like, find more people to buy bread? It's not a realistic way of looking at it, because that's something that's not really going to happen.
Well, yet again, it really depends. It's up to the owner of the mom and pop shop to make the environment more friendly, to make things happier for the employees. Because when you're working for McDonald's, it's nonstop work. You know what I mean? You constantly have to do something, and it's more stressful.
I've worked for small businesses, and I could tell you that it's not any different. I worked for small businesses and I worked for corporations, and I can't really say that small businesses were this mecca of greatness that you're talking about. It really isn't. And the idea is that somehow somebody's going to look at similar jobs and go, I don't mind getting 50% less working at this job. No, most small businesses will close. Like, they'll have to get, I don't even know who would want to work for 50% less money. I mean, you will see
less.
15. Yeah, it would be 50%. It's $15 and $10. That's a 50% less, 50% less money.
That's not 50%. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I meant to say 50% more money. That's what I meant to say. The other way around. If you're going from $10 to $15, it's 50% more.
Okay. Well, the whole point here is this. In my opinion, the minimum wage sounds good, But the problem is that small businesses are going to suffer. They're going to close down. They're not going to be able to start up.
You're just literally repeating what I already said is basically bullshit, and then like you kind of like just repeating it over and again. Like that's the point. That's
I'm just saying in conclusion that what's going to happen is more and more small businesses are going to close. Not as many businesses are going to start up with employees. They're probably going to start up with family members working there, and if they grow, who knows what's going to happen. And the other thing is the corporations are not going to have a problem with increasing their minimum wage, but not only will they increase the minimum wage, their prices on food will go up. So in any way that you look at it, there's a lot of positive, there's a lot of negatives. It still does not solve the pay gap, because still you're being paid unfairly. So that's just my opinion.
Okay. In conclusion, that from my point of view is that I think California, especially, unfortunately, we're not going to get there until 2021. It's going to be something that's actually going to be better. It's something that I want to say. I mean, if it's going to be $15 an hour by 2021, maybe by 2023 or something, we're going to see people getting paid more money. I see California being the leader in terms of every other state looking at it going, hey, you know what, this actually worked for them. Whereas salaries are more, people are happier, and I think the state in general is going to be doing much, much better. And I think we're going to have an influx even more than today. We're going to have an influx of people coming to California for the minimum wage. So guys, thank you for joining us again for our fourth podcast. Again, you were with Alex and Vadim, and this podcast was brought to you by Quickie Print, where you can get all your printing needs done. Thank you. All your printing needs done.